Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Well Played. I'm your host Bluetongue. From around Sydney, Australia, I'm also joined by the hosts, Gallivantian from Gladesville. We have Bauxite. How are you, Bauxite?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. I've recently started getting back into Magic the Gathering with the new Zendikar block. So
you've fallen off the wagon.
Well, not yet. I haven't actually spent any money, but I've definitely been looking at the spoiler lists and I'm very tempted to. And now that I've got a job and income, people who also manage my finances with me are running out of excuses for me not to spend money on things that are, wastes of money. So, yeah.
You can quit whenever you want, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You could give it up any time.
I mean, I can. I've quit like 6 times already. So.
What would you consider that to be a more valuable investment over a computer that actually runs things?
Well, I can run Skype, so that's a good start, right?
Yay! And you have that non-functional copy of Diablo 3 too. Yay!
Yeah, and a non-functional copy of the latest StarCraft expansion as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Has that been released? Has it?
Well, yeah, the latest one being Heart of the Swarm.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought it was like Legacy of the Void. Really? Already?
No, not that one.
How did I not hear about that?
Yeah, no, I can't run the really old latest expansion.
Oh, right. Cool. All right. Hovering in from the hills, we have Harrow again. How are you doing, Harrow?
I'm doing well, thanks, Bluetongue. I've been reading Teen Titans, playing SWTOR, and I went and saw The Martian on the weekend, which was awesome. We talked about that last week. Yep. Anybody else get the chance to see it?
Yep.
Yeah,
I got to see it. I got to see it with you, in fact. So
yeah. I was there. Remember?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fine movie. It's it's 2 hours and 20 minutes long or something. So by the end of it, my lower back was saying, it's time to sort of get up and walk around. But look, I enjoyed it. But being that long, it's still only got about a fifth of the content of the book. And there were a couple of points that, I really would have loved to see on screen, but the stuff that they did capture from the book, I really enjoyed.
I think they did a good job of portraying the story, the plot points they focused on, the plot points they used.
Yeah.
They used fewer plot points well as opposed to many with less attention. Does that make sense?
Give me a second. Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. They didn't spread themselves too thin, is what you're saying.
Yes, pretty much. I would have loved to have them gone more into the burning hydrogen, but that's just a personal preference.
Everyone loves burning hydrogen. I mean, come on.
When has that ever gone wrong?
Excellent. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I've been busy building Gavians and retaining walls again. But I did get to use an excavator on the weekend. That was fun. Bustling in from the Blue Mountains, we have Cam. How are you, Cam?
I haven't had a chance to use any excavators as of late, but I'm doing pretty well. I also saw The Martian last week. I was up in Brisbane for our anniversary. My wife and I went to a whole bunch of the comic book shops up there. Pretty impressed by what Brisbane has to offer, I must say.
Dirty rivers and floods?
No, they've recovered from the floods. That was 4 years ago now.
Okay.
One of the stores there, I won't name names, but looked like it had just recovered from the floods. Anyone that's been at comic book shops more than a little bit knows that some of them can be really, really dingy. Won't name which one, but basically I had a chance to check out some pretty impressive places up there that they have to offer comics, etc. in Brisbane. Really worth your while to check out.
Okay. And what made it particularly exceptional?
It might have been that I went to the other place beforehand, so I'd gone.
It was just awesome in comparison.
Yeah.
Wow, this place has carpet that's not damp.
Why do you not have dirt on the floors?
There's no mold on the ceilings here. This is incredible.
Yeah, but they had like what looked like a converted warehouse with comic books and just very friendly, knowledgeable kind of people working there, which always helps. And their stuff was really well priced. So yeah, just amazing kind of array of action figures, including this bust of the 1989 Batman film's Batman Cal, which said, if you do not touch or we'll yell at you and hurt your feelings. So with a sign like that, you can't really go wrong, I think.
Okay.
My experience with comic book shops in Sydney is some of them only have like the new stuff, and some of what you would describe the dingier ones have the old stuff.
Yeah.
Brisbane, did you find a good mix, or was it all old, or was it all new? What did you?
So, comics, etc. Mostly new. Another place that we went to that is called Fats Comics. Yeah, so Fats Comics. It was exclusively older stuff. And
like 70s old or
70s, 60s, they had two amazing fantasy issue 15s, first appearance of Spider-Man in their vault. So like we can't even show you that. We've got a safe with that in there. But yeah, so a whole lot of 70s stuff, and I've got it on good authority that I'm getting something from the 70s for my 30th birthday. That just seems to be, what the feeling is from my wife. But I also picked it out. But hey.
Hey, I'm going to be surprised.
Fair enough. I've been to one of the comic book stores in Times Square, is it? Midtown Comics, I think, in New York. And that I found to be, well, relatively comprehensive. Not quite what I expected. I expected something that was just massive and encyclopedic in terms of its comic availability and collections and stuff, and it certainly wasn't that. So, yeah, I'm a little less disappointed with Australian retailers in that sense after having seen what's available there, which is meant to be the centre of the world, more or less retail-wise. So, yeah.
I certainly would love to check out over there Mile High Comics, which is they've got the biggest warehouse that I'm aware of as far as places that that collect these things.
Is that
what you're expecting?
Is that in Denver or
Denver, Colorado? Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I thought I heard that the Midtown in the States was closing down, but I've just Googled it. No, they're not closing down. That's okay.
The institution remains. Excellent. So I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, guys.
So, yes, how are you going there, Bluetongue?
Thanks for asking.
Sorry, we got caught up talking about comic books and didn't ask you how you were.
If only it had been someone's responsibility in the show notes.
Yes. I've been busy as per normal. I've been building, as I mentioned before. Turns out you actually have transferable skills, guys. Believe it or not, all being gamers. After using that excavator, it turns out it took me about 5 minutes to master the rough movement of it. And yeah, you're at a major advantage over anyone else going into that sort of thing. So that's cool. You'll be glad to know that if you ever need to go into the building industry. In addition to that, I somehow found time to give the new Rainbow Six beta a bit of a run. Rainbow Six Siege, Tom Clancy's latest, well, not really his latest offering, the latest offering down that vein. And I found it to be very, very, very demanding of my PC. So I'm running a rig which is about 4 or 5 years old now, and essentially it looked roughly along the lines of Quake 2. I remember firing up Quake 2 many, many years ago, and it looked like that to me. Like, slightly prettier, but the textures and stuff like that were almost along those lines, which was kind of disappointing. That said, I've seen it also played on Twitch at much higher resolutions, and it looked much cooler. So there's definitely merit there. And you shouldn't mean, like, that doesn't mean it will be a disappointing game. There's also a lot of sort of co-op bits to it, and that sort of thing. However, I also found myself almost kind of missing just the sheer carnage that you'll get in your usual deathmatch and first-person shooter type games. So there was a little bit of that missing, I guess. It's a lot more sort of strategy, almost meets Splinter Cell or something like that, to a certain degree. with lots of thinking and trying to locate your opponents and getting the drop on them and that sort of thing. Played only a few rounds, and unfortunately the beta server was also overseas, so it was quite laggy for those of you in Australia. But aside from that, I'd rate it a decent enough game from what I could see. I certainly won't be buying it at retail though, based on my experience.
You know, wait for a Steam sale or something?
I might. I also might wait for a computer upgrade before I bother.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah. So that was basically how I found that. Have you guys looked at it yet, or?
So they had an event with IGN, one of their Black Beta events, to check the game out and stuff. But I was keen to go, but it clashed with, trip to Brisbane, and I certainly remain interested in seeing what it plays like. Play between sort of the gameplay as far as differences between console and PC version. It'll be on PlayStation 4, I think.
Yes, I strongly suspect it would be. And I think the version on Twitch I was watching was actually played on PS4, so
yeah.
It would probably, especially if your computer isn't quite up to date, graphically speaking, you might be better off actually getting it on console if you can handle the controls. That's just my personal opinion. Just to give you a rough idea, I think I put the graphics on mid, as in it goes low, mid, high, and then ridiculous, and then another level of ridiculous, and then a third level of ridiculous. So I was essentially...
So by mid, you mean second from the bottom?
Exactly. It's like almost low, but they called it mid. Or something along those lines. Yeah. I hate that, like, just call it ultra and then low, and then in the middle should be roughly what everyone's at. No, they've got, like, low, mid, high, and then ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like when you buy soft drinks at the movie theaters. They're like large, extra large, or jumbo.
Yeah. It's like... Yeah. I find that a little bit frustrating. That's just a personal quirk of mine. Alright. So, as a quick explanation of what this podcast is about, we are in the business of sharing comic books, graphic novels, movies, TV shows, computer games, board games, and MMA and wrestling we enjoy with our listeners. For those of you who are already aware of the subjects, hopefully we can give you all a deeper insight of what it's about. So, without further ado, let's get stuck in. The first subject for today's podcast is Bioshock Infinite. It's been out for a while, at least 2 years, I think, at this point. It was released back in 2013.
Was it March or April 2013?
It was March 26, 2013, on PS3, Xbox 360, and Windows. Now, I personally played it on the PC platform. I found it to be thoroughly enjoyable. How did you guys find it?
Oh, I played on PC as well. I bought all the DLCs that there was a Steam sale, so I got sucked in.
Yeah, you're known for doing that, aren't you? Just buy all the DLC.
Well, I mean, it's on sale, dude.
How could you resist all that value?
That's right. And having said that, I have not yet played any of the DLC. So,
doing the consumer proud. Well done.
This is why I need someone to help me manage my money. So, yeah.
That or just share game collections. Yep.
Yeah, well, that too, actually. So,
excellent. How about you, Cam? Have you played through it, and what format were you playing it on?
So I had that on the PlayStation 3. It was going to be my Christmas present from my mom in 2012. Basically, it was on track for the 2012 Christmas season, and then they put it back an extra year not an extra year, a couple of months. It had already been delayed by a year and a bit, and had been subject to a whole lot of different changes that they made. But I was glad it was worth the wait. I rated up there as far as my favorite games, I think, as far as the narrative and everything went.
Yeah. So, for those of you who haven't played it yet, looking at Harrow.
Hi.
We don't single people out on this podcast, though.
No, we just single hosts out. That's fine. Do that as much as you want.
We don't shame.
No, essentially, Bioshock Infinite is it's a story built into a first-person shooter. That's the way I look at it. It's a really interesting, doesn't pull any punches in making things complicated or difficult to understand. It doesn't spoon-feed you. But you'll find yourself becoming quite attached to the characters and being involved in their personal story, and you're obviously playing from the main character's perspective, so like the protagonist, and you get exposure to all the different sort of influences on his decisions and stuff like that. So, I don't know. Obviously, it's been out for 2 years. We're going to spoil the crap out of this now.
Yep.
So, essentially, his interactions with vast majority of them with his daughter, Elizabeth.
Oh, what?
You don't know it's his daughter to begin with, though.
No.
Yeah. It's the daughter of the prophet.
Yeah.
Wait, if it's the daughter of the prophet and it's your daughter, what does that mean?
Yes. So, essentially, you've gone back in time, or you've gone into an alternate universe?
You've gone into an alternate universe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are plenty of them. There are infinite numbers of alternate universes, including the first 2 Bioshock games and their universes.
Yeah.
So Bioshock is made by DC?
Or Marvel. Not so much Marvel anymore. Now they've only got the one universe. But yes, it would appear that way based on the number of infinite universes that they have.
So yeah, infinite universes. Let me just try and boil it down for you, though, who don't understand the story. You are the prophet. Your character is the prophet. Well, you're what the prophet originated from, and you've been sent to save your daughter, who's the daughter of the prophet.
From the prophet.
From the prophet, who's essentially the villain. So you are both the villain and the hero in the story. And as you
clarify that, the villain is an alternate universe you who is a bit older and is a bit of a religious freak.
Yes.
Whereas you are a guy who essentially has amnesia, and has just sort of wound up in his world.
So you play as a character named Booker DeWitt, who is this former Pinkerton agent, kind of thug, gambling guy that has this gambler's debt. You're what could have happened if you made this one decision in the game, or not in the game, but in the guy's life. He makes this one decision. If he chose to get baptized, he would have gone on to become the prophet. If he rejected the baptism, said none of that, he becomes Booker. Essentially, these 2 different variations of the same guy, perhaps not that different when it comes down to the brutality of their means, though.
Yeah. So, that said, you as a character, Booker, are quite just straight up and physically violent, whereas the prophet is much more insidious and paints everything in in niceties and in prettiness, but it's evil at its core, kind of thing, is the way I've interpreted it. Anyway, what do you guys think? Am I getting too deep? Okay.
There's so much there. I mean, and that's the thing about the game is one of the things I found about it as far as the game narratives, one of the deepest game narratives I've seen. What did you guys find with that? Am I alone for finding that to be one of the deepest game narratives I've encountered? Or
yeah, absolutely. So the actual
yeah,
game...
you're absolutely alone. Yeah.
Yes. Much like in the game itself.
We're all leaving.
Okay. So I'll be carrying the rest of this podcast by myself.
No, when I said at the start, it's a story put into the engine of a first-person shooter, I wasn't lying. Essentially, the vast majority of the quality of this game is all based on its actual narrative and the characters. And that said, the story itself I found to be really, really difficult and really hard going. How did you guys find the interpretation of the actual story?
Sorry, can I cut in? any of you guys play Squaresoft / Square Enix games?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Comparative-wise, would you say the story's as complex, more complex than, say, Final Fantasy VII? Okay, just already, yep, you did that.
So,
right.
Harrow is
actually have to be the most complex game story I've ever come across.
Yep.
And, that's a lot to do with the fact that there's quantum physics in it, that there's parallel universes, that there's essentially time travel in it, although it's really just traveling to alternate dimensions that are shifted on a timescale. There's multiple instances of the same character throughout different parallel universes appearing in the same place. There's different what-ifs of those characters appearing in the same place.
But there is always the girl, there is always Booker, and there's always the lighthouse.
That's true. Absolutely. Yep. So it's incredibly complex. I didn't have trouble keeping up with it. I missed a couple of details just playing through.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah, I've kept up with what was going on.
Yeah. I got to the end of it and just went, wait, what? Which I imagine a lot of people did. And then I YouTubed it and looked at some explanations, and it made it make more sense. But as much as interesting and all, like I said, as complicated as that story is, that actually wasn't where I found the most enjoyment in this game. I found the most enjoyment in the presentation, in the touches, like the little Easter eggs and the little bits and pieces all over the place that gave it so much character and made it really unique.
There's a lot of depth and a lot of detail, and it is a very, very well crafted world. I really like that.
Yeah. It starts off incredibly pretty and becomes increasingly dark, somewhat similar to the story. And the actual, like I was saying, the Easter eggs in it, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So those Easter eggs that you mentioned, like there was the songs in the soundtrack.
Yes. The soundtrack is A grade. Like, it is by far probably the best soundtrack I've ever heard in a game. So, in this case, Bauxite, I think you would be justified paying an extra $5 for the soundtrack.
Yeah, good call.
Did you get the soundtrack with what you bought?
I don't know. I'll check it out. Maybe.
Basically, what we're talking about here is that one of the elements of this whole time travel, alternate universe travel thing is one of the characters in the world has gone through these universes and has taken credit for most of the top 10 hits of all time. So you get like I guess what you might describe as a barbershop quartet singing...
God Only Knows by the Beach Boys.
Yeah, or a whole lot of these
girls just want to have fun.
Yeah, they're hidden quite well in that world.
It Ain't Me by Creedence.
Yep.
Yep.
And they're all done in completely unique formats. Like you were saying, this barbershop quartet. The Girls Just Want to Have Fun is done in like an old school carnival pipe organ type technique, which is amazing. It works so well. And the Creedence Clearwater stuff, that is done as a solo vocal,
A little girl sings it.
Yeah. And she does an amazing job, yeah.
Sorry, I think the title of the song's actually Fortunate One, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I think you're right, yeah. And then, just to top it all off, if you go on YouTube it, there is also a collaboration by the voice actors. So the voice actor for Elizabeth and the voice actor for Booker. And they do The Circle is Unbroken, which is a great old hymn.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and they do a really good job on it, which is amazing.
And if you get the DLC to this game, as you know, some people are apparently addicted to. Basically, the Burial at Sea, I think it was Burial at Sea episode 1 or episode 2. Fantastic song at the end there by the one who voices. I'm having a mind blank here. Elizabeth, the voice of Elizabeth, trained musician. Fantastic song at the end of that one. as well. I'm trying to remember exactly off the top of my head, but it was an original that she sang.
Oh, cool. I'm always up for original music. That sounds cool. Did you find the expansions to be a satisfying purchase?
So a lot of people, particularly the second one, sort of complained about whether or not that was worth the money, whether it was as impactful as the main game. Look, I loved it. I loved the first two Bioshock games, and so the premise was you take the characters from Infinite and put them in that universe of, well, not that very universe, but certainly in the underwater setting of Rapture, and have this film noir kind of setting. And then you actually get to play as Elizabeth in the second one. And it was trippy. It was certainly in keeping with. I mean, we're going to spoil the crap out of this game anyway, so I might as well point out Booker apparently dies at the end of Bioshock Infinite. It's a bit unclear and ambiguous in the ending as to whether or not that means he's wiped out in all stories or all parallel universes. They go into that a bit more. They address that. So I like that aspect to it. I was satisfied myself with the purchase.
Yep.
Hang on. If you wait till the end of the credits, there's a scene where he is alive and runs into Elizabeth's room asking for her.
Exactly. Yeah, there is. So The question there was, is that Booker... is that a demonstration that Booker, in fact, lived on in one of these universes to actually be with Elizabeth and not have this whole thing come up? And there are different theories about that, which is what I liked about this game. And that goes to the complexity of the thing, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Complexity is like the name of the game for this. Like, to say that story is complex is like saying, I don't know, doing like massively high-level cryptography is complex. Yes.
I thought you were going to say something like doing meth is a bad idea. Look, I think the story is definitely complex and the world is incredibly detailed. The one thing I think that is a bit lackluster is the gameplay.
Yeah, I can see that.
Compared to the first two, the original Bioshock and the sequel, Bioshock 2, I don't know if it had a subtitle or whatever, it didn't introduce anything new. In fact, I think it scaled back on things a little bit. There was very little problem solving. You basically just ran around like a rat in a maze. And, look, that fits in very well with the overarching story that, choices are you really don't really have too many choices and you'll kind of end up at the same point anyway.
Yeah. You get asked to make many choices in the course of the game and they are all pointless. You'll always end up at the same point.
Yeah. And that definitely does fit in with the theme of the story.
Yeah.
But having said that, I was a little bit disappointed with how the game actually played, which is one reason I didn't jump into the sequels, is because, I got the story out of it, and that was fantastic, and I enjoyed the hell out of that. But there's nothing I couldn't get from that. Well, I could have read the Wikipedia page and watched a couple of YouTube videos.
Yeah. Look, I haven't actually played through the DLC or anything like that yet, but the actual, like the story itself, like I said before, it's just it's the vehicle. Like the gameplay itself is your fairly standard first-person shootery type stuff, running around, rocket launchers, exploding things, and then you have your spells essentially. That said, I've also tried some of the earlier game, the other Bioshocks, and I remember distinctly in one of them getting stuck at a point where a door wouldn't open, which allowed me into the next area, and there was no way for me to open this freaking door using whatever materials I had there. So that annoyed the crap out of me, like putting someone into a room where there's no way out. But
I remember there's a point in the second game where you can accidentally walk into one such room and that happens. But did you sort of end up returning to it, or
no?
did you run from there?
I just gave up on it at that point. In this one, they didn't lock me in a room I couldn't get out of, so I played all the way through it and quite enjoyed it. But I couldn't really make the comparison with the older ones.
Yeah. certainly. The DLC, quite different for the main game. About 4 hours a piece you're looking at to solve it all. If you're anything like me and you don't tend to finish these games, it was quite nice to go through them that quickly.
Yeah.
Well, how long did you take to get through the base game? Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Basically, here we're looking at. See, I didn't play continuously. I reckon it would have taken me the better part of about 3 weeks. I got pretty sort of addicted to it toward the end there and played it most nights. So I don't know how many hours we're looking at. Maybe about 30 odd.
Okay.
That's a guess off the top of my head. Now, sorry, yeah.
What about you, Bauxite? What did you do it in?
Well, what's it? Is the term mainlining it? I did it in 2 sessions in 2 days. 13 hours played.
Yep. I can top you both. I did it. I think it was about the same time, like mainlining it in about 2 days, but I knocked it over in 8 hours.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't trying to rush through. I was just trying to.
I'm a wanderer.
Enjoy it,
I like to wander through this sort of thing and see all the different aspects of the level and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I remember when it finished, though. I remember getting my wife and saying, "I need to show you the video at the end of this game, and you'll see why in a minute how complex this all is." And she was actually blown away by it. So
cool. Yeah. I'd rate myself a decent first-person shooter player. I've been playing that sort of stuff for years, so I found the actual gameplay itself to be not terribly challenging. I think I just had the difficulty set on medium, though.
Yeah.
I recently just kicked off, like literally this afternoon, I kicked off the extreme mode. I think they call it 1999 mode or something.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually even get into the combat. I didn't have time, so I don't even know if I will have time to go all the way through that. But yeah, I'm debating replaying it again at the moment. It could be worthwhile, especially if I'm going to go through all the extra content as well afterwards. Yeah, excellent.
Would you guys, Bauxite, Cam, would you guys replay it?
So you mentioned that I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but there was what appeared to be a leak for the Bioshock collection coming out later this year, which was all 3 games. I'm actually contemplating shelling out for that. I probably would go through it again.
Yeah. I reckon I will probably just use Bauxite's copy and play his instead.
Well, yeah, fair enough. To be honest, I'm not sure I would play it again. If I did, I would put it on easy mode, just so that I could essentially skip through the combat, which I didn't find particularly interesting. What I found interesting was the story. And there weren't too many... I don't think there were any puzzles that really got to me. There were, run down this hallway, pick up this thing, go over there. But...
Yeah. There's a few moderately irritating bits, like that skyhook is like almost their only sort of moderately interesting mechanic. It's basically like a claw that you get, which you hook onto these things, and it'll shoot you around this like railway kind of thing. And you use that to sort of jump from platform to platform, and you can also use it to gib people and smack them in the head. But the thing is, some of the puzzles will require you to jump to a different number of platforms, and if you miss it, then you have to jump off and go back. And it's easy to do sometimes if you don't sort of go through the area thoroughly. So, and especially when there's a whole bunch of people shooting at you at the same time, you might be a little distracted and not actually get to all the platforms you need to.
What about, I don't know if you guys particularly found this one frustrating, but at the very end of the game, there's that last battle. You have to defend this one ship against this horde of enemies that keep coming. Did you guys find that difficult or frustrating at all?
I do remember it took me a couple of attempts.
Yeah, it took me a couple of attempts as well.
But I didn't find it excessively so.
That one frustrated the hell out of me until I found out that there's this one weapon in there that basically deflects what the enemy throws at you and throws it back at them. And I just spammed this thing that you're defending with that. So all these enemies were taking themselves out repeatedly. That was sweet.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So it's retailing at the moment on Steam for about $40 US. I would say that's way overpriced, especially given that it's a 2-year-old game now. What do you guys think?
I'm perhaps more pro Bioshock Infinite than your average person. So I would probably suggest, do shell out for it. That said, I'm not sure sort of what the prices are. You can certainly find a digital copy online for about $20. Oz Game Shop, if you're playing on the PlayStation 3, has it for about $19.
Yeah, I'd say that's much more reasonable.
I'd certainly look to something like that. And if you can get it cheap, by all means, I'd unreservedly sort of recommend that one.
Yeah, just do not pay that full $40 US at the moment for it. That's totally ridiculous. I would suggest waiting till some of the sales later in the year and that sort of thing to try and pick this up. Clearly you're not super keen on play it immediately after it's come out, given it's 2 years old now. So.
And we've spoiled it for you.
That's not entirely true. There is some plot twists there that we've left untouched for you.
Yep.
So, yeah, I found it very surprising that Vader was Luke's father, actually. So.
And the whole, that little Batman bit in there, just wow, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyable. There's also the company that produced it. Have they done other major stuff that you guys are aware of?
2K were the ones that published it, and the company was Irrational Games.
Yep.
So Ken Levine, who headed up Irrational until recently, he was responsible for System Shock 2, and I think so. Essentially, Irrational Games have gone kaput, and they've kind of got a smaller studio, but a lot of the people who were behind Irrational have gone into smaller studios working on various things at the moment. Yeah,
cool. I recognize the 2K thing from Borderlands.
Civilization?
Yep.
Yeah, clearly it's not... Well, there are some distinct similarities with the latest Borderlands. Just in terms of, the actual sort of way the first-person shooter bits sort of play out. That said, I would say Borderlands has much more depth gameplay-wise.
I do think there's some very similar themes between Bioshock Infinite and 2K games as NBA 2K. So.
Or WWE 2K15 or 2K14, just that one storyline that you could play through where, that was mind-blowing.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So yeah, like I was saying, retails for $40 on Steam. Don't pay that much for it. Go find a sweet deal or a second-hand copy. But still thoroughly worth playing through. And also, stop to smell the roses is my strong recommendation. If you hear something that sounds interesting or a little bit quirky, stop and sit down and listen to it. It's actually totally worth it, and is actually probably one of the highlights of the game, going through that stuff.
I would actually strongly recommend paying for this. It is one of the few games I would say is absolutely worth paying for.
Yep.
Because we at Well Played don't endorse piracy, just saying.
We shrug at piracy here.
I endorsed thrift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my personal opinion. I'm all for supporting publishers and stuff like that, but I'm not willing to pay overpriced amounts for games that are that old. So, yeah. Excellent. All right. So, moving on. Who's not reading the show notes?
I don't know. It's probably me.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Great. Well,
I've got them in front of me.
You probably want to look for a colour that is associated with your name. So if your name was, say, red, like Cam's name is red, he probably wants to introduce the next topic, which is Daredevil.
Basically, this won't be in the final cut of the show, so
I don't know. I'm thinking about leaving this in.
Okay.
I'm just going to edit that out only and leave this awkward pause in for you.
All right. Just bleep it.
I was kind of needing an Adak Horan-like segue between what we're talking about now previously and what we're talking about now. But we're going from essentially one well-developed universe in Bioshock Infinite to another quite well-developed, well-plotted along universe, that being the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Also, these things also both have people.
I was getting underway with my segue there. Basically, this week we're looking at Daredevil, which was Marvel's first foray into Netflix and using the whole binge-watching format and the kind of long-form storytelling that Netflix is known for. So basically quite a well-received first season that finished a couple of months ago. What did you guys think? Have you sort of been up to date with this show, and what have been your impressions from what you've seen so far, if so?
Look, I've been, I watched it with my wife in probably 3 days. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Like you said, it's a rich universe. The characters are well developed. They fit together with the cinematic universe, but it's still somewhat independent from the cinematic universe. You know, there's no real big crossovers. They mention and allude to a couple of things, but you can thoroughly enjoy this without having seen anything else.
Yeah, that's a real asset to the actual the storytelling of it and the intentional sort of, I don't know, independence of this.
Certainly, yep, sorry, go on.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to ask Harrow.
When you said you were describing not having to have seen any of the other Marvel stuff to enjoy this. I haven't watched Daredevil. Bauxite made me watch that Marvel's Agent Carter show. And
made you watch it, so he tied you down and put that on in front of you while not listening to your complaints, or?
No, he just
made
me...
I sat on him.
I had to sit quietly on the couch waiting for dinner one night. I really had no say in the matter. But, oh my goodness. Just every chance they got, it's just, yes, Agent Carter, we're related to Captain America. That movie, that movie Captain America? Yeah, you heard of it, Captain America? Yeah. And, it was so on the nose and got so old so quick. Every time they did it ripped me right out.
Harrow doesn't have strong views on the topic, however.
We're going overseas. Quick, call up Captain America's old buddies. Hey, they're going to meet us there. Fantastic. Hey, Captain America's buddies.
So should we be talking about Agent Carter instead of Daredevil here? Or?
No, the point is, that got real old real fast. You're telling me Daredevil doesn't do this?
Correct.
There's no, I'm real sad because Captain America is dead.
I love the radio show. Oh no, I've been kidnapped by Nazis. Again.
No, look, the only thing Daredevil does, I think in 1, perhaps 2 episodes, they say, that thing that happened, referring to the invasion of the far out, what is it called?
New York?
Yeah, the invasion of New York with the people, begins with a CH, the alien people. I don't remember what they're called. They came through the hole in the sky.
Chitauri.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like your ability here. We should remove and ban references to proper names and things like that from the show. The aliens that came through the hole in the sky to pick up the thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that guy wearing the green stuff with the big yellow horns, he's the brother of the guy with the nice hair.
And he's kind of teaming up with, but doesn't particularly like the guy in the big shell armor. Yeah. Look,
Shell
returning,
man.
basically here, they do mention, that first you've got these guys with hammers and these aliens running around, and now there's this guy running around in tights and beating people up. But yeah, it was a lot more subtle, a bit less sort of hand waving than was the case in Agent Carter.
Hand waving my foot, all right. This was just a cinder block with Captain America in blue and red and white, repeatedly pounding you over the head.
But yeah, we were talking a few weeks ago on the show about how much we all liked
Agent Carter.
Agent Carter, and highly recommended by everyone here at Well Played.
Not if you want subtlety when it comes to other Marvel properties, as it turns out.
Harrow, once you get past the, I think, 3rd or 4th episode, it does tone that down a lot, and it's not going to be a thing in the 2nd season at all. So
Okay, but won't they be building their own universe in the second season, introducing other characters, other
Yes.
Marvel characters that aren't in the movies?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there is surely not going to be any Hydra scientists as a major villain.
But Daredevil.
I think it'll. Sorry.
Daredevil will introduce, along the same vein, the Punisher. So, season 2 will have the Punisher as played by one of the principal actors in The Walking Dead. Played Rick's friend that ends up.
Oh, not
Shane.
douchebag Rick's friend.
Shane.
Yeah, Shane, the actor who played Shane, whose name is not occurring.
John
right now.
Bernthal.
Yeah, yep. So he will play the Punisher, I believe, and sort of they're setting up their own kind of characters and so on in much the same way that Agent Carter will, but definitely it's fitting in quite well with the Marvel universe in its own right. Apart from that, I think something that this show has been quite well acclaimed for has been just these kinds of fight scenes, the fight choreography. What do you guys think? Were there any scenes that stood out in your mind or anything about this show that stands out for what you liked about it?
This is, as far as actual fighting and action sequences go, this screams MMA at me. I just look at this and I'm just like, yep, this is totally like just beating the tar out of each other and pulling no punches and everyone walking home with broken bones and really, really bad bruises at the end of it.
As far as scenes go where that stand out to me, okay, this is the part where we spoil the shit out of the show.
Because the way you're talking it up, I was planning on watching it, but now...
What if we kind of like try to finesse how we spoil it so as to not...
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a scene with a car door.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That really stuck with me, and that was one point where the wife and I were just like, okay, look, I think we're just going to leave it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I find that interesting, that stuck with you guys, and then you've watched Game of Thrones right up to season 5. Like,
Yeah.
for me, there's like, what about that disemboweling scene in Game of Thrones, or the scene where the guy's head explodes? Like,
Well, I don't know if you guys saw the most recent season, the end of Game of Thrones, most recent season. But if I say the words shame, does that mean anything to anyone? Like that scene?
yeah,
Look,
like, so
I've got to say that I've actually really started to think about not watching Game of Thrones because of scenes like that.
Yeah. Yep.
It's good. It's graphic. It's a beautifully constructed world, but it is on the line of things where I'm going, look, I'm really not actually enjoying this aspect of it at all.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad when, people get their comeuppance. But, at the same time, it's not always people that I want to see get brutally tortured to death. Getting tortured to death. So,
they are running out of Starks, so...
Oh, come on. They only killed about half of them.
At once.
Oh, spoilers.
They could always introduce Tony Stark into Game of Thrones, which brings us back to Daredevil and the links between. That's the worst segue than the original one that I used.
Yeah, so Tony Stark plays Shellman.
But certainly you were saying that you thought you would give up on Daredevil after you saw a particular scene involving a car door.
Look, we left it for the night. We
Yeah,
came back to it the next day, but I think that was a point where we're like, okay, that's enough for today. So.
Yeah.
Certainly, yep.
So I've got a question. Stan Lee is credited for 15 episodes in the next season. Did you guys know that? And has he did he actually contribute anything, or is he contributing his overarching creation, which is Marvel?
Having created Daredevil, and like almost everything with Marvel bears his brand at some description. For years, he was the head of their film division, and he's got like this emeritus kind of role there. So I'm sure he has some kind of hand in it, or some kind of overarching responsibility there, something that he can contribute every now and then. But he's been very hands off with the movie. Certainly, a lot of the stuff that he's seen, he's had very little say in.
Hey,
Yeah.
he's got a good thing going. Cameo check. Cameo check. That's at least 2 checks a year he's cashing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So there's not necessarily like a major contribution in terms of individual episode writing and stuff like that. I just thought it was interesting that he'd been sort of credited third under Bill Everett and Drew Goddard. But yeah.
Look, he's a big name. I think he's going to be more recognised than anyone else who's credited, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. I think part of me was hoping that he'd put pen to paper and really actually done a chunk of it, kind of thing. But the more I think about it, the less likely that I think that is.
So at the age of what is he 91 or 92 now?
I'm not even sure he's actually still alive. I think they just CGI him in.
Yeah, but so I mean, we saw him speaking at Supernova last year, and again, not sure if that was just a hologram, but basically, I think that he does still write a couple of projects a year. I can't recall what his current one is. He has another thing going at the moment. For his age, he's doing well as far as having his hand in these things.
Yeah. Totally agree. All right, so what other aspects of this to this show did you guys enjoy specifically?
I think something. Go on.
No, you go on. It's fine.
Basically, something that hasn't been. All right, Harrow's thoughts on Daredevil. What have you enjoyed about it so far? The fact that it's not Agent Carter.
The fact that they haven't referred to Captain America being dead yet, I think it's a real plus in my book.
Yeah, I think the humor in the show hasn't been spoken a lot about, but Daredevil. People often think of Daredevil as being this quite heavy, quite dark, sort of creation, this Marvel's Batman or what have you, largely because of Frank Miller's sort of take on the character in the 1980s, 1990s with The Man Without Fear and stuff like that. This one has some levity to it, which is nice, particularly the kind of interactions between Foggy and Matt and Karen. I think that was something that they got right with this. Kind of, it's not all gloomy all the way through, at least not every scene. That was what I enjoyed about it. What about you guys?
Sorry, you've just raised up a point and I'm going to derail us for a minute. We get the Marvel, so you're saying there's elements of humor. Is it like the Marvel movie type humor where they've just got quips all the time and they a good back and forth between the characters?
Certainly, yeah. That's how. I mean, it's not constant. It's not every single scene, as you kind of find with some of the Marvel properties, like some of the other. Certainly, the Avengers films have those quips all the way through. This has.
I think they've been getting more. I think the quips have been increasing over the last 2 years. Yes.
Yeah, not quite to that extent of Avengers and so on, but certainly some of the scenes, particularly between Foggy and Karen, have that more. Not you don't see Daredevil making quite so many smart-ass comments as he's throwing someone down an elevator shaft or something.
Oh, really? That sounds like the perfect opportunity.
I don't think he actually does throw someone down an elevator shaft. That was a Watchmen reference, but anyway. I think there's a good balance there between the levity and the darker stuff, but that's just my take.
So it can still do the darker stuff?
There's some very dark stuff in there with the methods that Daredevil uses. How did you guys go with that with regard to, I guess, some of the ways he gets information from people?
Well, I mean, he doesn't use car doors, so I'm, pretty much fine with it.
Yeah.
But, no, look, there were times when he's been, incredibly aggressive, incredibly violent to people, essentially torturing them in order to get what he wants out of them. That really does paint him to me as not being necessarily an anti-hero, but I don't know, man, like a non-hero. He's very grey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You all play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sure you've got a term for it.
Oh, jeez. Chaotic good, I guess. Yeah, I guess. Probably bordering on chaotic neutral. But, he's not... which is really interesting because being a lawyer, I think that's it's the character. It's at night, he's the rules go out the window, but that's only because during the day he's gone as far as he can within the rules. So, look, yeah,
fantastic. Yep, fantastic point. Episode that illustrates that was he represents someone who he knows to be guilty, however, or at least very strongly suspects to be guilty, but there's not enough evidence to convict. And then later on that same night, in this one episode, goes after that same person. I thought kind of illustrates the point you're making.
Yeah, overall, I actually didn't retain any of the notes of levity and stuff like that you guys are talking about. I found overall it to be quite dark, as we were discussing, and I found the actual content of it to be like I didn't find it bad. Like being dark isn't always a bad thing in my personal opinion, and this really pangs of Dirty Harry and that sort of thing to me. Like I remember watching those movies and those TV shows when I was a kid, and this really reminds me of that whole, what would you do if you had the power to actually do something about these problems that you see?
Well, I mean, I guess most of the levity comes from the interactions between Foggy and
Karen Page.
Karen Page. Sorry, my bad. Their interactions. He's the comic relief. He's the guy who doesn't take himself too seriously and doesn't really take any situation too seriously. He's Daredevil's foil. So yeah, he's a good character. But I wouldn't say that. I've forgotten Daredevil's real life name.
So Matt Murdock, played
Matt
by
Murdock.
Charlie Cox.
Yep. Sorry. Murdock's character is a lot more, even during the day, a lot more serious, a lot darker. And there's time when he smiles and has a bit of a joke, but he's not laughing it up all the time.
Certainly, some of the times though with him and Foggy, they have some banter there that I think they could mine it a little bit more. I mean, again, another character, plenty of different takes on Daredevil. Most recently, we had Mark Waid's run on Daredevil, which was the lighter side of the character, this character that, smiles despite the darkness of it all. But, I think that darkness could be potentially off-putting for some people, at least to begin with.
Yeah, definitely. And like the scene that Bauxite was describing before, this is a great example. There's another scene that involves a headbutt and a spike. Do you guys remember that one?
Yes, I remember that one pretty vividly, yeah.
Yeah, that one stuck with me a bit more than the car door one, because it pretty much showed everything, whereas the car door was somewhat muted and the actual shot sort of cut out the worst.
It was out of frame.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe as long as I don't see it, I don't retain it.
Is this the same? Sorry, sir. Is this the scene with Daredevil questioning someone?
Yes.
And I found the dark part about that was this line that he says about this one particular nerve that he's after, that he's trying to hit. Okay. Or something along those lines. Was just the line itself was really distressing.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember the details. It's been actually a little while since I've watched it, so I'm sort of looking back at the show as a whole. Something else that I think probably deserves a good mention is the Fisk character.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really, really well done. It's like initially as a faceless menace, and then becomes an actual true villain by the end of the actual episode, like the series. How did you guys think he panned out and was played?
Yeah, look, I really liked him. He's definitely a villain, but he's also, you understand why he is the way he is. It really did sort of guide you through how his childhood shaped his beliefs, and how his experiences have shaped the way he behaves. And he's got depth. He's not just some guy who wants to cause mischief and mayhem. Look, comparing him to, say, the Red Skull, who's just evil and power hungry for the sake of being evil and power hungry, at least in the first Captain American movie.
Yeah.
Fisk is, I would say, genuinely trying to achieve
a somewhat
goals.
noble goal. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So
yeah.
would you put him on par with, say, Magneto? Nothing's on par with Magneto, but you put him on par.
I'd probably say he's in the same ballpark.
He's a sympathetic villain. Well, maybe not a sympathetic villain, but certainly a character whose motives are spelled out.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that backstory aspect of it. There was a lot to the actual characters which are sort of filled in for you if you don't have that massive background in comic books and stuff, which is nice.
Yeah, to see him sort of develop and grow as he builds his empire as well. The relationships that he has with the people around him, how he forms and meets those people and interacts with them is really interesting. Seeing the different factions and how he walks between them is, really cool. But at the same time, you see that he's got real depth and, there's an actual person behind all of these actions, and he's not just trying to form an empire to, roll around on a big bed of money at night. I totally enjoyed the actual actor who plays the role, Vincent D'Onofrio, something like that. Who I immediately recognised from Full Metal Jacket as I can't even remember the actual character's name. The guy who gets picked on during the actual movie. Amazing job. He's in like CSI or something like that these days as well, isn't he? Wasn't he at some point? No, I'm thinking of Law and Order. That's what I'm thinking of. He was in Law and Order. Yep.
Which he did a fair enough job, but I think he certainly hit his stride with this with Fisk's character. He did a fantastic job, I think.
I mean, certainly we've seen the character played before, but it was Michael Clark Duncan in 2003, and all respect to the late Michael Clark Duncan, I don't think he did a very good job in that time. And seeing this, at first I wasn't so sure about how Vince, whose surname I also cannot pronounce,
the Onofrio. I'm pretty sure that's how it's said.
Onofrio, in terms of how he portrayed this character. At first I was like, this is not Kingpin. I don't see this working. This is somehow a softer character or something about how he's playing it. The way that he evolves and the way that you see the actor portray that over time is worth checking this series out for.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
I really actually like how they plucked his eyebrows. That made him look just so much more sinister. Sorry, spoilers.
He goes eyebrowless in the last 5 episodes. It's amazing.
Yeah, actually, speaking of something like that, I found it really cool how... Actually, no, he's not eyebrowless. I was completely wrong.
Okay.
Man, they are so subtle, though. So I'm just looking at a picture of it now. Murdoch doesn't actually get his red suit right away. I found that really cool. They brought it out at the right time, and they waited for it. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, they spent time with the character discovering who he is and how he's going to actually operate, rather than just doing a little montage of him training and then putting on the suit.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's something we miss in the Marvel movies, is that these heroes come fully formed for the most part.
Yeah.
Really? I'm kind of over all origin stories at the moment.
I think it's because they're not really done well. It's like, oh, I've got powers. Oh, I've got a cool suit. Oh, I better call myself a thing. Oh, there's a bad guy. I beat him in the end.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority here who, I thought the first Spider-Man movie, I'm talking 2002, Spider-Man did the origin story amazingly, no pun intended, amazingly well. I could watch that story retold numerous times over because I love that character. I love that story. I could really be fine with it if they wanted to go down that path for the third time. I would sign up.
And you even get to, like, with Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, you get to watch the same story happen again and again.
They're not going to go down the origin
you want to
story.
See Uncle Ben die?
Sorry? Yeah, I do want...
You need to see Uncle Ben die.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of...
I could watch him die again and again and again.
No, but in seriousness, though, if you look at Amazing Spider-Man, if you look at the role that was done by Martin Sheen in that one, and as far as how he portrayed Uncle Ben and that whole story, seeing that again was fine. They're not going to go down that path of the origin story for the third Spider-Man, the new one that they're introducing in the next Captain America movie, which I might be the sole person here. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with being the minority here who's the sole person who is disappointed to not see that story again. But as far as...
the only person on the planet that wants to see Spider-Man's origin again.
Because I think it's a cool origin. I think that they, as far as origin stories to repeat ad nauseum, if you're going to do it, that's the right one. That's the one with the guilt and the pathos and the change in the character and everything like that. I don't know. I'm a Spider-Man junkie, sir.
Yeah, no, I think it's done. Like, I'm happy enough with all the information that I have about the story. I want to know about other characters. I want to know about their backstories. Like, I read a really interesting article about Jewel, and that character from the Marvel Universe, which I thought was totally interesting. And I think there's more interesting characters to be had than Spider-Man again, personally.
Look, I think the issue is that they rebooted so soon after two really decent movies and a third absolutely shocking movie. The Venom Sandman, was it Venom and Sandman?
Venom, Sandman, Green Goblin 2.
Oh my.
John and Kate plus 8.
Terrible.
Like, yeah, it was...
I personally believe that Venom needed his own movie.
Yeah.
Venom needs 3 movies. Like, Venom, I think, is the best Spider-Man villain by far. Anti-hero. Anti-villain? I don't freaking know. I love Venom. I'm all over Venom, and Venom is all over me. But,
I see what you did there.
Yeah, hey.
I mean,
but
yeah.
he got so badly shortchanged, and then to reboot immediately and hear the origin story again, and then kind of deal with the same sort of stuff again was a little bit frustrating.
I mean, I was okay with that because I love that story and stuff, but my frustration is the cynicism behind the decision that was made. I mean, Sony did the same thing with Fantastic Four because they want to keep the rights to the...
Fox.
Yeah. Sorry?
Fox has Fantastic Four.
Oh, sorry, yes. Yes. Essentially the same issue applying, though, with regard to using the same property over and over again so that they could continue to hold on to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I hope there's never another Fantastic Four movie that's made by Fox.
I think they've seen to it that it's just about untenable at this point.
Mm. I had high hopes for that as well, like with some like decent acting talent in there and stuff like that. And man,
honestly, they need to get someone like Joss Whedon on board.
Yeah.
Oh shit, he'd do a fantastic job. No pun intended.
Fantastic
No,
job.
Certainly. We looked at. I think so far the best Fantastic Four movie that has ever been made was The Incredibles. If you look at Pixar and how Pixar handled that, definitely I turn it over to Pixar. I mean, they come with the whole...
Do an animation. 3D animated character into the Avengers. And then, I guess there's already Iron Man, so hey.
As far as Fantastic Four, though, as far as Pixar handling Fantastic Four, I think certainly would be worse than the ones we've seen so far.
Yeah, but that's gone all the way back to Disney then. Disney owns Pixar, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if Pixar's going to do it, then Disney owns it, which means Marvel Cinematic Universe can do it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, all this is beyond me. Cool.
Look, out of the three of the four of us read comic books. Honestly, which of us follows Fantastic Four is into Fantastic Four? I mean, I like X-Men and they do a lot of stories with Fantastic Four, and even then, I still don't like them.
I like the old ones. I like the old Fantastic Four stories, as corny as they are, because that's kind of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee going, hey, here's this corner of the Marvel Universe, and establishing all that. And I like some of the late 90s Fantastic Four, but yeah, I admit, I dip in and out of it. It's not,
Well, my only exposure to it was in Civil War, and I got like a brief taste of Fantastic Four, like everyone else in that novel, except for Captain America and Iron Man, where they touched on each character for like half a page, and that was it.
Frank, that's all you get. Go.
Yeah. And even then, I found them too much.
To be really honest, I used to watch the Fantastic Four cartoons on, weekday morning TV.
Which one did you see? Did you see the one with Herbie the robot, or the one when they had the whole like early 90s, rock starred up Fantastic Four?
The Rockstar one.
Yeah.
I was okay with it. It didn't grab me like the Spider-Man or the Iron Man cartoons, but
So that's a no for you reading it then?
Yes, that's a no. Yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah.
That's the most Australian contribution to this podcast so far.
I think, how did we get on this? We were talking about origin stories, and we're supposed to be talking about Daredevil.
And how Daredevil fleshes out the origin story. You don't just get the suit right away. You don't just get the training montage. It takes a full season until he's in the suit.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, he doesn't even fight the villain until later.
We're dedicated to our research here.
No, I'm trying to avoid the spoiler.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They actually, and interestingly enough, they actually put time and effort into the suit itself, which is also interesting, and explaining like where it's from and who's created it and all that sort of stuff as well. I like that. There's also the element of the whole detective story going into it. So obviously they're playing a law firm, and so essentially you get what you end up with is something roughly along the lines of Avengers meets Law and Order meets MMA. Is kind of the way that I almost envision this.
What you're describing is a comic series called Legends of the Dark Knight. It's basically, it's Batman comics set after the Year One storyline, when he's still a rookie and he's still figuring out how to do stuff, and before all the major supervillains come on the scene, where he's just fighting the mob. And that's actually something I really enjoyed about that early career stuff, is that because he was starting out, all his equipment was, because he's a bajillionaire, later on, when he's all established, everything he has is manufactured. It's made for a purpose. Right at the very beginning, though, it's all assembled. He's taking bits, and that's what's great in Batman Begins. I love that part. He's taking bits from here and there, and his suit and equipment and gadgets are a work in progress. Yeah. So, yes, and it's all very much detective-like in Legends of the Dark Knight. So you're telling me Daredevil is just the Legends of the Dark Knight TV show?
That's exactly what he was saying, yes.
Okay, cool.
And I think that you will thoroughly enjoy it based upon that description. I'm impartial to a bit of like lawyering and court-based TV cop drama type stuff. And so, this sort of scratches that itch, certainly, if you're into that sort of thing. But,
I would say that, the one difference between, Legend of the Dark Knight and, Daredevil, is that Matt Murdock doesn't have a gazillion dollars to buy whatever he wants. He does all of his fighting with 2 sticks.
Yeah.
So, as opposed, where Bruce Wayne's main power is being, their parents who are rich, Matt Murdock's main power is, his awesome fighting ability.
Isn't that, though, got to do See, I've only seen the Batfleck movie when he's doused with the chemicals, which gives him the sonar hearing and stuff like that. Is that the same for this show?
Kinda. It's touched upon.
Yeah, so he does have the radar sense, and they do refer to it, and he hears people's heart beating and all that kind of stuff. It's more toned down than was the Affleck version. The Affleck version has this whole thing of you can see it through his eyes, and yeah.
I much preferred this take on the actual superhero power that he has. And they actually also go into a little bit of detail about how he develops his fighting skills as well, which is interesting. So, yeah, there's merit there as well.
Yeah, certainly if you wanted a comic book analog, I'd probably compare this to Frank Miller's miniseries, the Man Without Fear. Certainly a lot of this mines that series a lot, including the suit that he has to begin with, all this other stuff. It's worth checking out before checking out this show, in my opinion.
Okay, cool.
I'll add it to the read to my.
So, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's been published on Netflix. Is it on Netflix Australia yet? Does anyone know?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Okay.
Because, as I've said, we at Well Played do not endorse piracy.
Well, no, there's nothing illegal about changing your IP address to make something think that you're in America instead of Australia.
In fact, you're correct. There is nothing illegal or legal about that. It's a grey area. Feel free to do it there.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's in the Netflix EULA that you're not supposed to do that, which you agree to. So.
Oh, right. Yeah, in that case, totally don't do that. Totally do not go to unblockus.com.
Oh, come on.
Which is completely not endorsed by the members of Well Played.
Hey, they're still getting their money. Like, I can't see Netflix being terribly upset about having a larger subscriber base.
You wait till the Trans-Pacific Partnership comes in, man.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Oh, the details about that, though, that's right, we don't have access to them.
Yeah. I'd really like to sit down and discuss that. That was fun. So, shall we wind up the show then, Bauxite?
Yeah, let's. So, thanks for joining us this week. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves as much as we have. You can catch us on Twitter at WellPlayedAU if we ever actually tweet.
We'll get to that.
Tweet.
We'll totally get to that.
Yep.
When we totally have subscribers.
Yeah, right. You can also send us questions, comments, abuse, or suggestions about stuff you'd like us to discuss at wellplayedau@gmail.com. And if you like, you could leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you don't like us, also leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It is mandatory, actually. So, yeah.
If you want us to actually read the review, leave it as 5 stars.
Actually, if you do leave a 5-star review, we will totally read it out.
Yep. Regardless of what it is. And then I'll edit it out if it's too bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm kidding. I think it's going to be advertising, after we've talked about comic book kids, we're going to get a 5-star review and it's going to come to King Comics for all your comic needs. It's be obligated to read that out.
Do you want a bigger... Go to this website here. 5-star review.
Sorry, could you send me the URL to that website?
We're whores.
We're whores with good ratings. That's what we are.
Yeah, well, not yet.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.